again.
You're up, buddy.
Alright, I'll lead in. Feels like I'm real close, like, to the middle. Alright.
Yeah.
Yeah, perfect. Alright. Hey guys, we're back again with another special YouTube edition. This time we're going to look at the New York Knicks and Dwight Howard, who's reportedly interested in moving to the New York Knicks next season.
Yeah, so this is coming as part of a new segment that we're trying to look at the moment. We've looked at what's trending on Twitter and on Reddit and Facebook, and apparently Dwight Howard's close friends have come out to media sources and said that he's interested in playing for the Knicks. So right now it's trending. He's had 30 million mentions in the last sort of 24 hours, so we decided that we'd delve into this and see how Dwight Howard at the Knicks would actually look.
Yeah, there's a lot of factors in play. Firstly, can it work on a salary basis? You're the expert when it comes to cap room, Trent.
Well, there's a few things we wanted to look at first. Obviously, you looked into the Knicks situation and they only had about 19 million of salary cap available, and Dwight Howard said he's got a player option this year, and he said that he's going to decline that because he wants to test the waters and get a bigger contract. And Dwight Howard's been in the league now for more than 10 years, which means he's entitled to 35% of the cap, and the cap's expected to be at about 108 million, which means that Dwight Howard could be entitled to, as a max player, around $38 million, which seems ludicrous for anyone to pay him that much money. But if he were to go to the Knicks, that's the sort of contract he'd be looking at, and we're not sure he can afford that.
So first, let's jump in. Hot topic. Do you reckon he could get a max deal next season?
Personally, I wouldn't like to see him get a max deal. I don't mind seeing him start at around max money, sort of $30 million, then maybe see the decline at 26 mil in the second year, maybe 22 mil in the third year, and then 18 mil in the fourth year. Because I think that for a guy like that, we're seeing guys like Kobe and even Melo, they've been paid these big contracts, but the longer they go on, the worse and worse they look. And you really want to get a guy like this, a big man who had some injury issues in the past. You want to get him on a declining scale contract there. So somewhere around 4 years, 90 million would work out fine, because it would be able to go from 30 to 26 to 22 and then to 18. So I think something like that would be perfect for Dwight.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. If I'm a team, it will be an upgrade at the centre position for probably 25 of the teams in the NBA. I consider him probably in the top 5 centre.
Yeah, I think he's definitely in top 10, and he pushes for top 5 when he's healthy as well. So
yeah, so it's a definite upgrade. It's just whether or not you want to spend a guy, like you said, a guy who's injured a lot of the time. He's getting old. He should be on his decline. He hasn't been a defensive MVP since 2011, right?
No.
So he is on the decline in all aspects of his game. At the Knicks, let's talk about if the Knicks do sign him up, and this is like a virtual situation here.
Yeah.
Like, it may or might not happen, but the outcome would be that Dwight Howard will be starting at the 5 position, and effectively Robin Lopez would have to disappear.
Yeah, and Robin's been playing some pretty good basketball recently, and it definitely helps to have a banger like Robin Lopez against a guy like Porzingis, because you don't have to give Robin a lot of touches, which means you can develop Porzingis the way you want to. And with Dwight Howard, he'd probably take away from some of that interior presence that Kristaps is trying to build. And I know you mentioned before, Kristaps is trying to transition to the 5 position. He's working on his defense. With Dwight Howard in there, you can pretty much throw that out the window, because he's going to play 30 to 35 minutes per game, and that doesn't leave too many for Porzingis to develop as a centre, does it? So he wants to be as a centre, stretch 5, but he's going to be pigeonholed now, I think, as a 4 if Dwight Howard to move along.
Yeah, and that's tricky, especially with the movement towards small ball lately in the NBA. Dwight Howard doesn't fit into that aspect of the game. You'll have to rest while they play small ball and try Kristaps at the 5, so it could be an interesting bench rotation, moving Kristaps to 5 and running with some of the role players there. What I do like, though, and what is very interesting, and possibly the most interesting aspect of this trade or free agency signing by the Knicks, was how it would go alongside Carmelo Anthony.
Yeah, that is an interesting one, and personally, we were talking about Kristaps at the 5. I think Carmelo at the 4 is such a great move in this small ball era, and they've got the sort of perfect lineup now. They run with the triangle, but if they just played a spread pick and roll around Kristaps, Porzingis or Carmelo Anthony, like, imagine them two in a pick and roll. Like, there's so much shooting, there's a bit of playmaking, and I don't know how you stop that. And you throw someone like Dwight Howard into the mix, and yeah, I suppose Kristaps Porzingis spotting up around a Dwight Howard and say a point guard pick and roll could be effective, but it also leaves Kristaps Porzingis just sitting in the corner, and that's probably not what you want from your main guy. And the Melo and Dwight Howard pick would work pretty well. I think if Melo was at the 4, that'd be nice, but he's also a guy like James Harden who generally does like the ball, and we see that Dwight Howard likes to be throwing the ball in pretty similar situations to Melo does. I mean, Melo's a bigger forward, likes to post up. Dwight Howard likes to think he's a good post-up player, so I'm not sure how they'd mesh too well there. It's a difficult one.
No, it is difficult. And if you were to sign Dwight Howard and have him alongside Carmelo, you'd obviously be hoping for a good championship push. It's not the type of trade where you're going to sit back and be happy to make the playoffs. You really want to push it all the way if you're signing a guy like Dwight Howard, because on the other scale, if you're looking for max centre, you could sign a young guy like Hassan Whiteside.
Yeah.
But what I'm going to look at with Carmelo Anthony in particular is he's a guy who is vocally committed to the New York Knicks. Now, he's not going anywhere, I think. He's going to stay there for the rest of his career, I imagine. So signing guys like Dwight is the right move to keep Carmelo happy, first of all, and keep him sticking around for the whole time as well, and make sure he's playing good basketball alongside good teammates. Now, moving away from Carmelo a little bit, what I want to quickly discuss is, I guess, whether or not the money should be spent on developing their guards. We know they lack at the point guard position, and we mentioned Robin Lopez. The upgrade from Robin Lopez to Dwight Howard is a significant one, but it might not be as much as developing or moving the cash from one of their point guards right now up to an elite point guard.
Yeah, I think the difference between Dwight Howard and Robin Lopez isn't as big as the difference between Jose Calderon and any kind of point guard that's starting caliber, because like, you could spend the exact same. Well, actually, you could probably get a starting point guard and a backup, say, small forward or shooting guard with the exact amount of money that you're going to get Dwight Howard for. Like, it's going to be a lot of money. You could even get two guys on the rise that are at 15 million a year. You could probably get for the same amount you're going to get for Dwight Howard. So I think instead of spending your $30 million on a guy that's probably going to decline really quickly, put some money into your guard positions. Get a good point guard. Get some shooting guards. And then you can slide Langston Galloway back to the bench, where I think he plays a little bit better. He's not quite that starting caliber guy. You don't want guys like that starting. So definitely, I think I agree with you. Probably invest your money in the point guards there. Don't worry about chasing Dwight Howard in the off season.
Yeah, I completely agree. And there's a few names that have been floating around. First of all, they chased Conley pretty hard in the deadline. Weren't able to sign him for whatever reason that is. But secondly, it came out today that Carmelo was interested in trying to attract Rajon Rondo to the Knicks next season.
Yeah, he's come out and said that he wants to play with Rondo, and he thinks that the Knicks would be a good fit with Rondo on the Knicks. He just thinks that would be good for them. I mean, I'm not sure how much sense that makes, because I don't have a lot of knowledge about the triangle offense, but my limited knowledge says that they need a shooting point guard generally. So they generally run the offense sort of out of the post with their guards and stuff like that, and you do need a good rebounding guard, which Rondo definitely fits the bill, but I'm not sure that he can play off the ball and shoot the way that you need to in the triangle offense. So I'm not sure what Melo's talking about there, but I mean, maybe that's another player just like Howard, who's a veteran kind of level player, an upgrade in skill that they don't have now, and that is probably a move that would make Melo happy, but do they make it?
Yeah, I think if they do make that move, they probably can't look at signing a max centre like Howard. They don't have enough cap space for that. It'd be nice to see how they would go with all three of those. That's a pretty interesting big three there. Experienced guys who are obviously very capable basketballers.
Yeah.
But with Dwight Howard, what I want to look at, another thing just as well, let's touch on this. We all saw his struggles at the Lakers, and it was struggling with injury problems. Also dealing with the media.
Yeah.
The media of a big city,
market.
A big market like the Lakers, where if you're not playing up to the standard that's expected, or you're not living up to your potential, they're going to hammer you. New York's probably worse than that.
And New York's really bad, isn't it?
New York's just as bad, if not worse than the Lakers. So can Dwight Howard handle being in a city like that? I'm not sure if he could. He's at the Houston right now, where he gets away with it a little bit, I think.
Yeah, that's where people have kind of speculated in the past that a city like Atlanta or even Utah or Milwaukee, who he was also rumoured to be interested in, they said on the broadcast of the Milwaukee and Houston game, but cities like that, people think that seems to be where Dwight Howard would be suited better, because it is more low-key, he can go about his own business, he doesn't have to feel that pressure, and it seems strange now that he seems like he wants to be involved with the Knicks according to his friends and sources. If that's true, it seems like a really weird sort of change of character, but I'm not sure he'd deal with it too well. We saw how it sort of combusted in Los Angeles, and with some of the responsibility might go on to Melo, but I feel like if Dwight Howard came there, the responsibility would be on him to lift the team. I don't think that Melo would feel this sort of pressure, because I think Dwight Howard would be the new acquisition that was meant to tip them over the edge, and when that didn't happen, I think he'd cop a lot of criticism for it.
And he's the type of guy that if he is copping the criticism, it doesn't help to push him to the next level as some players get lifted.
Yeah.
Dwight probably wanted to soak in it and get
Yeah.
dampen a little bit, I think, in his play and motivation and team spirit. Now, that not only affects him, his own individual output, but it also affects team chemistry. You've got a young team there, the Knicks, like a couple of young rising stars, Kristaps.
You don't want Porzingis around that kind of thing.
You don't want to expose to people that are having a negative view or a negative mindset, and that's what Dwight Howard could bring. Now, we're not sure, we're not directly involved in the locker room at the Rockets.
Not a good friend of Dwight Howard.
No, I don't get on the text messages with him, but for what it seems like, that's the type of reaction or chemistry issues that he brings. Now, if I'm the Knicks, well, let's go back to what we said earlier. I'm going to be spending money in the point guard position, getting in someone who can help the team there, and look for other options. Maybe keep Robin Lopez at the centre. He's not doing anything wrong.
No, exactly. He's been playing really well. I think he got his stats there from the last 10 games. It was 14 points, 10 rebounds. I mean, you definitely can't complain with those numbers, and he's been playing some pretty good team defence, which is something that we can't really say of Howard, who's kind of lost that a little bit. He hasn't been putting the effort in, and at least you know Robin Lopez is going to give you his best every night, which is something that you really can't buy with money, I don't think.
His best obviously isn't as good as Dwight, but it's a very consistent level of output.
Yep.
It has a pretty nice hook. It's a random one, but it seems to hit the bucket every time.
Yep.
Anything else you want to add before we go, Trent?
Just one thing. Do we think the big three of Melo, Rondo and Howard would be a championship contender even if they were able to put it together?
So if they were able to put such a thing together, which we're not sure if they could or if they can.
If they want to.
If they wanted to, could it be a championship contender? Yeah, of course. Like, you've got those three, they're all experienced, good basketballers, but it all comes down to the mentality, I think. Chemistry, how they work together. Obviously, Rondo working with DeMarcus Cousins, that seems to be... I don't even know what kind of word you can use to describe that. It's weird.
You definitely think, say, Rajon Rondo and Dwight Howard pick and roll with Porzingis and Anthony and even a Flyer. I mean, it seems interesting. It seems like it could be competitive. I'm just not sure if it's not a core that you're really going to invest that much money in to build a championship contender, I don't think. I think stick with Porzingis, go young. Seems to be the best way to do it.
That's what I'd be doing if I was the Knicks. So this resembles the Lakers of a couple of years ago, where it just all imploded. Also, possibly the Brooklyn Nets.
The Nets.
Where they traded heavily for everyone, and that just was a disaster as well. I reckon Knicks, stay away from Dwight Howard. That's my verdict. What's your verdict?
Verdict is stay away from Howard, build around Porzingis.
I agree. Signing off. Jake Nichols and Trent Arnold.
Thanks, guys.